take your life seriously.
Okay, this is part 3. We've had the 2 other guests on now. We're here at Neto's Academy. So I'll just tell a short story about when I came here. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I was only a blue belt. I'm black belt now. I've mentioned it a few times.
A few times.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you.
That's the journey started now.
That's it. And you know, it's just a normal seminar. It's an amazing facility down here. If you've not come, please visit it. And he told the story about how he was in Paris and he went through the struggle when he was younger, and me as a white belt seeing this academy, seeing him as a black belt and a well-known black belt, and seeing what he's built. Like sometimes you can feel like, oh well, maybe he's had a helping hand, he's had a good start or whatever. But actually, where he came from, a bit similar to me. My background's you know, not the most polished, we'll say, but he's built all this, and I just thought it's an amazing story. So I thought if we could get the listeners out there and you can tell them a little bit about that, I think it's awesome if you could do that. Just push that mic though a little bit towards you because it's a bit of a nightmare.
That's
so
it.
I think you want to tell us about your academy, tell us about who you are and about what's been going on.
Well, first of all, it's a massive pleasure and honor to be here with you guys today, and being able to share a little bit of my story. Hopefully, can inspire more people. I was even talking to my coach about you and how we don't really understand and how we don't realize and how many people can actually impact through the sport. You being an example today for me. I had no idea that somehow a few years ago I got to somehow help you through my story, and then this is one of the things that keeps me more motivated than ever. That's my main target.
Nice.
And, this academy for me is more than helping people achieve a gold medal in a competition, but the main target is try to change people's lives through the sport.
Yes.
As my life has been changed and saved through the sport, and this is my main target really, and trying to be myself the best example that I can be and the best person that I can be, so I can pass that on to my students as well. So this is the main thing in the academy really.
Yeah, I think that's hard to, as you said, see sometimes when you're telling your story, like, oh, is anyone listening? Does anyone? But then when you see it go full circle, and it's impacted my life. Your story, I was like, do you know what? I've got no excuse now, but to try and make this my career, and that's exactly what I've done. And to get my black belt and achieve some stuff, and that's what I've done. But also that's now affected like my wife, my kids, because I'm doing it. I'm black belt now, and I'm training them. They're training, so it has an impact. I think sometimes what we don't realise with stories like Mark's and yours is it might impact me as an individual as well, which is amazing, but then it impacts my kids. And then, so it has such a widespreading impact on everyone. So I think it's like, amazing what you're doing. So for those who don't know a little bit about your story, I know we haven't got much time today to go right into detail. There's an amazing documentary already out there, which is filmed. We can link that in the bio. Do you know the name of it? And
it's on Vimeo platform.
Yes.
The name of the documentary is Jiu-Jitsu Saved My Life Twice, which is it's been launched a couple of years ago, and it won. The documentary won a Fighting Film Festival as the best documentary. So
really?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Where is it? YouTube?
It's on Vimeo.
Vimeo, okay. Cool.
Vimeo,
Perfect,
sorry.
perfect,
I'll send you guys the link.
Yeah, nice. We'll try and put that in the YouTube
Yeah.
column if you can send the link on that. So if you could tell some people, if you could I know you can't get time to go into all of it, but just go.
Whistle Stop Tour.
Yeah, all right. So here you go. Yeah, I'm originally from Brazil, born and raised, and up until 19 years old. Started training jiu-jitsu at the age of 13 after my father passed away. Coming from a very humble background in Brazil, from the slums, the favelas, I was just one more kid, and when I lost my dad back then, it was a very tough, difficult moment in my life, and it was in a sudden way. Luckily, I found jiu-jitsu, just suddenly. I used to go to a gym. That was the only thing I could afford to pay at the time, was training a little bit taekwondo. I've always been into martial arts, but I could never afford to pay jiu-jitsu. Was always, at the time, it was only for rich kids, and that's when I met my coach. And I remember still like if it was yesterday, there was this massive bodybuilder guy training in the gym, and I was just that skinny kid sitting down and watching that guy train, and then he looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm waiting for my taekwondo class." And then he said, "Oh, why are you not training jiu-jitsu?" I said, "Well, I can't afford to pay." So he literally harassed me and pushed me into the mat. And then he said, "No," I introduced him to my coach on that day. And my coach, the guy I introduced you to,
Oh, nice.
he's here.
That is amazing.
He never let me leave.
Wow.
You know, and he pretty much adopted me like a son and changed my life. You know, and then as you say, now how that is spread. You know, and everything in my life since then, based on that moment, has changed and impacted the lives of so many people around. And yeah, so I started training when I was 13. Up to my 19, I got my purple belt. At that time, I was purely training and competing. So I quit school at the age of 15. And jiu-jitsu has become my full-time thing. You know, in Brazil, it was really hard to be able to do anything else. Jiu-jitsu has become an obsession for me.
Okay.
And then at 19 years old, life started to be very difficult there. So I decided to move to UK initially to try to really work, because my family was really struggling in Brazil financially wise. I said, well, I'm gonna try to go there for a year, work a little bit, make a little bit money, help my family, and then come back, you know. Came to Europe. I had a stopover in Paris for a couple of days. You know, actually, that boy from Brazil, never left the country, barely speak any Portuguese. I had 50 euros on my pocket and a bag. And when I had to step over, and my mom at the time, she literally sold everything in the house, everything we had. She slept in the mat on the floor to be able to buy my ticket to come, you know. And then when I was meant to come to UK, and when I went to get the Eurostar in Paris, the immigration stopped me there. Even before I got on the train, and said, "Unfortunately, we're not gonna let you in the UK. You're gonna stay here." And I couldn't even go back home because my return ticket was from London. So I found myself 19 years old in Paris, and that was back in 2003, December, winter. 50 euros on my pocket, nowhere to go, didn't know anybody, didn't speak any French or any English at all, only barely Portuguese. And that's when the challenges start. So I become homeless for 5 months pretty much. Sleep in the streets, stations, you know, and trying to find my way through.
Crazy.
At that time, jiu-jitsu wasn't as popular as it is today. So it was really, to have a jiu-jitsu academy, it wasn't almost none. It took me about 5 months to find a gym. And that came up in the documentary. That was when I found a jiu-jitsu gym. That when everything changed. They took me out of the streets, and then I met people there who, you know, took care of me and made friends, and then got back into training a little bit, and then life changed. Jiu-jitsu at that time became a hobby for me because I had to work to survive and help my family. So then I started training. I started to work, training whenever I could. And that was for quite a few years, to be honest. I never stopped training, but always as a hobby then. I kind of abandoned the life as an athlete that I was trying to pursue, and started to work. Got promoted to brown belt by my coach. Got promoted to black belt 2009 by my coach. Life has took another direction, become a father. And then in 2009, I decided to go back to Brazil with my family. And then, meanwhile, I moved to London in 2007. My son was born. I managed to move to London. And 2009, I decided to open a dream company that I had in Brazil, which was open a trucking company because of my father. It was his dream. And that when everything turned upside down, I went back to Brazil, and everything that I worked for years here and tried to save a little bit, I ended up losing everything. I was so young and inexperienced. Crazy. So I become a truck driver, a lorry driver, which I was driving all up the country in Brazil. I had my gi in the truck, and I used to stop in the city one day. Oh, there's a jiu-jitsu gym here. I'm going train. There's a jiu-jitsu gym there. I'm going train. Yeah. And I could never really abandon jiu-jitsu, but it was just a hobby, It was a real tough moment again in my life. And then I ended up getting separated from my ex-wife. She came back to England with my son. I stayed there. I was doing back and forth back then. Come here, spend 5-6 months with my family, go back to Brazil. And then in 2014, I'm just trying to resume everything short. 2014, I got to a point in my life, I was 30 years old, where I had nothing left. I lost literally everything in Brazil. And I called my mom. She was here. In 2007, when my son was born, I brought my mom to live here as well. I said, Mom, please help me. I need a ticket to come back to UK. She bought me a ticket. I came back here, arrived in London with one thought in my mind only. I said, look, I have a son. He's 6 years old. I have no education. You know, I've got nothing in my life. I have two choices, but I have jiu-jitsu. Either I'm going to find a job like everybody else and try to look after my son the best way I can, or I'm going to give literally everything I have to get back to jiu-jitsu and see if I can live through this, you know, from the sport that I love. And then I started, you know, from literally zero. Got back to jiu-jitsu, started training full-time, got back to competing competitions, and after for so many years being away, it was a hell of a challenge, man. But, you know, this is the result. We're here today, and I'm so grateful that I made that choice, you know, and it's probably the best choice I've made in my life.
Yeah, and I suppose it was a hard choice at that time because, as you said, twice that happened to you, not just once. So it must, you know, that takes a lot of people out really the second time.
It does.
Yeah, and you've come through that, which is amazing. And I think, as you said before, like your coach helped you out. And then, you know, I think you talked about in the documentary a bit more. There was a lady that helped you out find the gym. And then it was just like, it's weird how these different people come into our lives. And yeah, okay, we have some play with it as well. We have to make the final decision. But they push us into certain areas and give us little nudges. Would you ever think about quitting, or is it? I don't know. I know today it's still difficult. There's no like, oh, it's perfect. I've got the dream life now. You know, your gym owner is busy. You got family as well, and it's hard. It's hard. But you know, I think what you're doing for the community as well. You know, you let us use your gym today, and we're holding this seminar here, and as well as the word just spreading is absolutely amazing. Is there times when you thought? I know there probably was when you was 30 and stuff. What would you say kept you going? Was it just that you had no other choice, or?
You know, from the second time when I came back 2014, that was pretty rough. It was really difficult because you're not a kid anymore, and then you have a son to look after. You know, decisions for you to make a decision like that is a big decision because everybody's going to point a finger at you and say, "Hey," even my mom, which it never came from a heart, but she never really understood what I was chasing us. You know, at some point, for years, she was paying my son's maintenance because I couldn't afford to pay. I used to travel from Ealing to East London 50 miles a day in a bicycle because I couldn't afford to pay, you know, a tube. Went back and forth, and she came out, quit, you know, stop what you're doing, you know, go and find a job, go and look after your son. And then it was really like the only person who kept me going, kept pushing me was my wife. And got to a point where you're trying everything you can, you know, and then you're giving everything you can, and then you don't see anything happen. You're always gonna have that question behind, you know, am I doing the right thing? You know, like, but there was always something at the back of my mind and say, keep going, you know, keep going. I think you are in life, you're constantly putting under check, you know, like to see if you're going to be strong enough to hold on. But you never know how close you are to succeed. You never know how close you are to make that step up, you know, and suddenly everything changed in one day in one phone call. You know, I the previous gym before this one, we were in such a difficult situation, you know. It was so difficult, so hard, that I spoke with my wife and said, look, if we can't find another place, the location was really bad, unfortunately we're going to have to close, and, you know, I'm going to have to find a job because I couldn't even pay my bills. And I wasn't work with anything else. I was just refereeing on the weekends and try to survive teaching and stuff. But anyway, I still remember like yesterday, I was coming out of the gym, my phone rings. State agent guy called me, and he said, "Are you still looking for a place?" I say, "Yeah." And he said, "You called us about a year ago, and we kept your number." And I was the first. And they said, "The place is still not even in the market. Would you like to come and have a look?"
Wow.
And I asked where it is. They say Ealing Broadway, and I say, "Man, Ealing Broadway has been my dream location, which is here." But I never thought one day I would be able to afford or you know. And so yeah, why not? I'll go and have a look. You know? But I wasn't like
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen or anything like that. And when you got here, when I walk into the place, oh man, this place,
dream.
you know, like a dream place.
Yeah.
And but first thought in my mind was like, oh, forget about it. You know, it's only me and my wife.
Yeah.
No way on earth, like, based on, well, we don't have anything to prove or to, you know, to show they're not going to rent that to us, you know, it's going to be impossible. But I truly believe, like, in life, everything you throw, and if you genuinely will come back to you, and then somehow you cross the right person, you know, that's going to give that little support that's going to make everything change. I remember coming out, I saw the place, you know, I fell in love with the place, I was going out, and there was another person already walking in to have a look at the place. And it was a guy who represents Halfords.
Oh.
And I say, man, who am I compared to those people, you know? But I literally told him everything, the estate agents, everything. And I guess he went to the landlord and explained the whole thing.
Wow.
Like half an hour later, my phone ring again and say, the landlord wants to meet you tomorrow.
Wow.
I go back here, and I meet the guy, and I look at him. I say, "Man, this guy's not the owner. Impossible. It doesn't. Like, it didn't look like you know." I speak with him. You know, we start to talk and put the whole situation down to him. You know, I still remember, man. Like he clapped on my hand and said, "Don't worry, the place is yours."
That's amazing.
I still have goosebumps.
Yeah.
How like I can't really understand like. I don't think he can understand the magnitude of the thing that he did on that moment. You know how that changed so many things and so many people. You know, and so I think coming back to your question, is always gonna have that thought. Am I doing the right thing? Is it time for me to go something else? But if there's one thing that I can say is never stop believing. Yeah. You know, fight until you can't fight no more. You know, and if there's one person that has ever done in the world, that means it can be done.
It can be done.
You know, and then if one did it, there's nothing to stop you back from doing it again. You know?
100%.
And this is truly what I believe, and this is what keeps me, you know, going forward all the time.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Giving me goosebumps now talking about it. I think, you know, going back to how that sort of ripple has a massive ripple effect. I think one is perseverance. Your perseverance from, I can't even imagine being homeless for so long and then still persevering, and then, you know, losing it all at 30. Like that's a you know, you almost feel like you should be growing up by then. I certainly wasn't, but you know, you feel like you should be, and then to lose it again and go and ask for help and then come back is that perseverance. I think, you know, that's what's stuck out there massively. And also just how, if you're struggling, just to keep pushing a bit more. And if you're ever in the position where you can help somebody out in any way possibly, if you could do that, you can see that sort of impact it has. And we talk about that quite a lot, don't we?
Yeah, and we try to do that as much as we can.
We try to help people out as much.
Again, it's the ripples, isn't it? You know, one small thing that any of us do could have hugely positive consequences for other people.
Oh, massive.
You know? And it's... I think there's a little corny meme that goes around. It's like two people digging like underground and there's diamonds, and one of them's like he's like a millimeter away and he's walking around with his pickaxe on his shoulder and going back, and the other one's just about to strike through. And the message is, I mean, you may not have the talent, the skill, or any of the required assets to quote unquote succeed or whatever that looks like, but if you just keep going and stay resilient and keep marching forward, if you know that what you're striving for in your heart and in your gut is achievable and it's the right thing, just keep going, and then that phone call comes, and then that landlord turns up in your life, and then, you know, they're a kind person, they're a nice person, they help you out, boom.
And a good wife helps out.
Oh, it really
The
helps
wife
out.
squares
Yeah.
you away.
man,
innit?
yeah.
I'd say that's one thing we could all agree on here is we've got
Yes.
like that wife that's there behind us because you go home, licky wounds, and she's like, "Come on, keep going, keep going." You're like, all right, okay,
Yeah.
so keep going, keep going. So that not just a wife in general, but a supportive wife that's like willing to say. It's easy to say, go and get some, earn a bit more money. It makes it easier for me if you can do that. But you say, no, don't take the money. Keep pursuing the dream. So that's really important as well, which I think we've all got, all three of us have got that as well, which is amazing.
Oh,
I don't want to take too much of your time today, mate. I know you're busy. First of all, just saying thanks for letting us use the venue.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And doing all this and spreading that word out. So where can people follow you online? Or you got Instagram and all that kind of stuff? Have you got instructionals you sell or anything like that yet?
not yet, but
No?
I'm working on.
Cool.
That's something that is definitely on my agenda.
Boom,
Start
boom.
to work on my instructions and organize a little bit that way. My main focus for the last couple of years since lockdowns finished was just really focus on the academy.
Yeah.
But another thing was just try to imagine, like, found the perfect place for you, your dream come true.
Yeah.
3 weeks after we opened the gym, lockdown hit.
Oh, that's crazy.
That was another
No.
being able to deal with that at the start was like, come on,
Yeah,
like, we
that
threw
was a
everything
bad time.
away, and so another, I'd say, perseverance, man, believe
Yeah.
it, and then but yeah, it's on the books, and
That's
a lot of
amazing.
things that I have projects in mind, and that hopefully soon will happen.
Cool. So you're on Instagram? Your name
Yeah,
on Instagram?
Neto Nunes BJJ.
Cool.
That's my personal Instagram, but the gym main is the Gauntlet Fight Academy, West London. Anyone is more than welcome. Doors always open for anyone out there who'd like to come and visit.
It's an amazing place, guys. Always
It
super
is,
friendly
yeah.
down here. Some really good rolls as well, so you'll enjoy it. Come down and visit. Thanks for today, mate. Really
Thank
appreciate
you guys. My pleasure.
Oh,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Lovely
man.
to
Really
meet you guys.
appreciate it.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.